Hello and welcome to the oddschecker Cheltenham Festival Preview 2021, sponsored by Betfair. I'm your host, George Elek, and today I'll be joined by three expert guests to preview the Wednesday of the 2021 Cheltenham Festival, the day two of the festival. Those guests are Andy Holding, oddschecker tipster, Betfair tipster Tony Calvin, and Betfair Barry Orr, who joined me today. We did the pleasantries.
Betfair Barry.
Betfair Barry.
Does everyone call you that?
He keeps using that.
Well, because it's how you're known in the industry, Barry. That's it.
Do people come up to you on the racetrack and call you Betfair Barry?
Yeah. No, they call me Tony. I said, no, he's left. He's gone.
Barry, I'm afraid to say, when I tell people who we've got on the podcast today, I say Tony Calvin, Andy Holding, and Betfair Barry, and they say, brilliant, I love Betfair Barry. So that's the way that it works.
That's nice. That's refreshing and unusual in the same degrees.
Right, we did the pleasantries in day two. We are, we're recording this at just before 2:00 on the Thursday, the week before the festival. So we've just had who's been left in all the races for the day two of the festival now, and the markets have reformed. So the prices might be subject to change pretty quickly. There probably isn't a great deal of liquidity in the Betfair exchange markets too, as they reform, but we'll be doing our best to go through it. And before we do start, just going to point everybody in the direction of the oddschecker app. Please do download the app for the best prices, the best bookie offers, the place terms, the free bets, and the very best tipsters as well, including Andy. You can get his tips to your phone on the morning of every race throughout the year, as well as during the festival. And the prices that I will be flagging up here will be the best prices on the grids as well, and then we'll get the exchange prices too from Barry. So we'll start then with the Ballymore, where Bob Ollinger is the 9-4 favourite. Gaillard du Mentzil is 11-4. Brave Man's Game 7-2. Appreciate It, who's been left in the race as it stands, is 7-1. Bear Grylls 14-1. 20-1 bar. Barry, and I won't call you Betfair Barry. Can you take us away with the opener here in the Ballymore?
Yeah, Bob Ollinger has been the real fancied horse in the market. 3.5. Gaillard du Mentzil is 3.9. 4.8 Brave Man's Game, and they're almost to the exclusion of everything else. Bear Grylls in there at 14-1 on the exchange. He's the one I like. I'm going to have a few quid on the win and place on Bear Grylls, Nicky Martin's horse. Just thought his wins in Exeter and Foslos and Lingfield, I've been really impressed with him. His form in Gowl Road and Foslos, I just like that. He gave him £6 that day. Nigel Twiston Davis's horse. Now he's got a bit to find with the ones at the head of the market, but that's reflected in his price as well. Nicky Martin obviously trains at Matt Griffiths, who's the Dashel Drasher, got him his Grade 1 victory earlier this season. It's a horse that I think he's got a big future ahead of him. Now, whether it's over hurdles or not remains to be seen, but he's still undefeated over hurdles, and he's my idea of a bit of value in the race against three really, really nice prospects at the head of the market.
Yeah, Bear Grylls 14-1 as it stands, although with a firm who aren't on run and no bet, so 12-1 elsewhere for Barry's selection here. Tony?
This has got a very similar shape to the Triumph, hasn't it? The three at the top of the market are just so solid, aren't they? And so exciting. Bob Ollinger, I actually think, the way this horse travels through his races, I think the Supreme might be the better race for him, but it obviously looks like he's coming here and he's been a well-supported favourite. You got Gaillard du Mentzil that I think Andy's put up a big price earlier in the season. Yeah, you can definitely see the case for that. But the one I like is Brave Man's Game. I was really impressed by him at Newbury last time. I can see him kind of like, coming to the last with the other two, just maybe sitting in behind him on the snaff. But the way this horse finishing off his race and goes into overdrive late on, really impresses me. So even though he's the outsider, the three at the top of the market, Brave Man's Game's the one. I have backed him each way at 9-2 and 5s not so long ago, and I'm very happy with that position. I actually had a little bit on Kescon Risk as well at 20-1 each way a couple of days ago. I think they're going to come here. I've taken the non-runner money back angle as well. But if there is one's going to creep into the top three, which I think is hard, I think Kescon Risk is probably the one. But I'm not a big fan of Bear Gills, especially at 14s. I'd rather take my chances at 20s on Kesk Risk if you are looking at the front three. But for me, Brave Man's Game is the one I fancy most at the top of the top trio.
I spoke to Betfair ambassador Paul Nicholls this morning about Brave Man's Game, and this is what he had to say. Move on to the Ballymore now, where you've got Brave Man's Game, who looks an incredibly exciting prospect, just behind the Irish pair in the market at the moment. The only horse who's beaten him so far this season was Soaring Glory, who's of course gone on to some pretty good things. 17 length combined margin of victory over his last 2 runs, over 2.5 miles. How excited are you by him?
Yeah, for the future, very. He's going to be an awesome chaser in time. But, he holds his own as a novice hurdler, as you say, against Soaring Glory at Chepstow over 2 miles. First time they both ran very, very good races. And we were thrilled by that. And then he stepped him up in trip and he's not looked back. And, of course, he won the Challow Grade 1 at Newbury very easily at Christmas. I mean, you could argue that he's had a couple of soft races. And, I mean, his margin and his way, he's won very, very impressively. But we've kept him fresh for this, and he's definitely got a chance. It's a good race. All those races are at Cheltenham, like Denman got beat in this race, so it's not an easy race to win. But he's very well, great preparation, and looking forward to it. And again, he won't mind the fact that the ground doesn't look like it's going to be too bad.
Yeah, great to speak to Betfair ambassador Paul Nicholls this morning about Brave Man's Game. I spoke to him about Politolog too, and we'll drop in the clip as to what he said about his Queen Mother Champion Chase runner there when we cover the race itself later on, and I'll let you know where you can watch the full interview there too. Andy, Tony keen on Brave Man's Game, Barry is keen on Bear Gills. Which one is, are you agreeing with either of those two, or are you going to take one of the top two in the market? Or are you happy with your position on Gaillard de Mensil?
Well, yeah, you would be, wouldn't you? It's, the day when he won at Leopardstown, he won a maiden hurdle, but again, when I was tinkering around with that 4-day meeting and doing what I do, sort of lining up one race against another, there was a Grade 1 race won by Flooring Porter, so I thought, well, this is a perfect opportunity to see how good that maiden hurdle was. And again, let Flooring Porter run probably a couple of furlongs and clicked it at the same point where Gaillard de Mesnil jumped the first hurdle and let them go. And I've sent this video around to a few people, and they thought they thought I'd edited it to, bolster the opinion I got on Gaillard de Mesnil, because they literally couldn't believe their eyes. That literally all of them came back and just went, "Wow!" Seeing is believing. I think it was almost the whole length of the running. Gaillard de Mesnil had gone over the line, and Flooring Porter was just jumping the last. He was that far ahead of genuine Grade 1 horses, and I thought, well, either those Grade 1 horses are completely and utterly no good, or Gaillard de Mesnil's the next coming. So I thought, well, straight away I'm thinking, well, Willie Mullins will come back here to the Dublin Racing Festival. He'll run him in one of those 2 Grade 1s. And I'm thinking he's more of a 2.5 mile horse than a 2 mile horse. So the obvious race is the Ballymore. So I quickly scribbled it all down, sent the prices out, and posted up on the oddschecker tipping board. And he went and won his trial, beat a good field, the best staying field around as I could see. They were all there: Statler, Fakira, Ganapathy, Shadow Roller, Honey Macapony, Ashdale Bob, Vanillier. And he beat them fair and square. He stayed really well. I was worried about the ground. I was worried about 2-6, but he travelled and he quickened and he put them all in their place. I think he's got better form than Brave Man's Game by a mile. Brave Man's Game, love the horse to bits. I think going forward, he's the best of these as a chaser further down the line. I think another couple of years he'll be a Gold Cup horse. But there's a worry about that. I mean, that Challow Hurdle stat has just been knocking around for years now, and it's just a massive worry, isn't it? 17 horses have won the Challow Hurdle, and not one have won. Paul Nicholls has never won the Challow Hurdle. He's never won the Ballymore. I think Denman got beat, didn't it, back in the day? So it's just not a race. For some reason, Paul Nicholls wins. It's going to be broken sooner or rather later. And if it is any horse, it's going to be Brave Man's Game. I've got a huge amount of respect for Bob Ollinger. He clocked a good number when he won the Lullers and Ace. Again, he beat the right horses in inverted commas. Ashdale Bob, unfortunately, fell at the first, but Blue Lord represents that form line, and he represented it well next time out. So, look, this is an absolute dead 3-runner race. It's the best race of the festival for me with regards future quality. And if you're a real purist of the game, these 3 here are absolutely right out of the top drawer. It's going to be a fascinating race tactically. I think there's only going to be 7 or 8 runners. I think a lot of these won't run. I presume that Brave Man's Game will make the running, and you'll get the other two rather cat and mouse in behind, wanting to play their hand late on, sort of from 2 out, to the line. So it's going to be a brilliant race to watch. This race would really put the hairs on the back of your neck, standing up with the crowd going wild. Because I think all 3 of these, if they all stand on their feet, are going to go hell for leather down to the last. I'm hopeful, obviously, Galliard de Mesno comes out on top and wins. And I'm really looking forward to the race. I think Bob Ollinger's the main danger. I really do. I don't think Brave Man's Game's form, as it stands at the moment, what he's done against the UK horses. The other two are proper, genuine Grade 1. They've proven themselves in Grade 1 company. I think those Irish horses are really good this year. So I think it's between those 2 Irish horses. And like I say, hopefully Willie Mullins can win it again with Galliard de Mesno.
Yeah, I must say I'd forgotten the price that you were on at until I just clicked on that little yellow star on the grids and saw it was 16-1 that you put Galliard de Mesno up at.
He's my biggest winner of the week. So yeah.
Are you the kind of punter, once you get a 16-1 and you can lay off around about 3-1? Are you the kind of guy that would take your profit, or at least kind of like get flat?
Yeah, I've actually done it the other way around, Tony. I've actually backed Bob Ollinger at 5-1 as well. So I've backed Bob Ollinger each way at 5, and I've backed Galliard de Mesno at 16, because I thought once he won the Lawlers and Ace, I thought, well, I've got to cover my bets here, because I thought, well, I was really impressed with that, and his time figure wasn't that far away what Galliard de Mesno did. But that harping back to that race at Leopardstown, I mean, I've been in this game for a long time.
I was going to say, yeah,
I haven't seen a horse do what he did that day in that maiden hurdle for a long, long time, and I was falling over myself to try and back him, and all those horses that ran in behind him that day have all come out and franked the form. Mr. Incredible next time he floored a nice mare called Gardens of Eden next time out. Of Willie Mullins's. Magic Days won subsequently. Even the horse that finished 9th, a horse called Stockdale, got beat 116 lengths when I won at Fairyhouse next time out. So it's just unbelievable form.
Stick me on your bloody email chain.
Get him in. If you get the WhatsApp on your laptop, then he'll message you all the tips. That works.
I hope he finishes. I hope his horses finish 2nd and 3rd. To be honest with you, but there you go.
Yeah. We'll see come the day, but hopefully, Andy, after your Stairs Hurdle crossbar rattle last year, hopefully you can get Galliard de Mesno over the line.
I'll send you the video clip, Tony.
Oh, good. Yeah, I look forward to that.
But should be.
I'll take the 3s as opposed to the 16.
Should be a great start anyway to the Wednesday, and we'll move on to the second race of the day, where we've got the shortest price favourite of the festival as it stands in the Brown Advisory Novice Chase, Monkfish. 6-4 best price at the moment, as sure as 8-15 with one firm. Royal Pagal still entered, is 9-1 best price. The Big Breakaway 9-1, Eclat de Rire 10-1, Next Destination 10-1, Sporting John 12-1, latest exhibition 14-1, 25-1 bar. But Barry, to be honest, Monkfish has them all running scared.
Yeah, he certainly does. He's 8-13 on the sportsbook, 4-6 on the exchange. Interestingly, there was 6 odds-on chances last year, and 5 of them got beat. It's only 1 winning odds-on chance. So yeah, you have to, it's slowly catchy monkey at Cheltenham, that's for sure. But this looks rock solid. He really does. There's not many in against him. Kederi is currently 11 on the exchange, 12 the Big Breakaway. Next Destination 10.5. Sporting John, who hit a high of 70 when he won the Scilly Isles, he's currently 15. Yeah, I'm struggling to see past the favourite here. I'm struggling to see any value outside of him as well. I think there could be less than 8 runners in this race as well, so it's not going to be an each way betting proposition come 48-hour decks. At the moment it is, there's 3 places, but yeah, Monkfish for me.
Monkfish can't see past. Well, I can't see past him. Barry can't see past him. Tony, can you make a case for any others?
I think this is just the good thing of the festival. If you ask me to say what's the one horse that's going to win at Cheltenham, I'd say Monkfish. I think when me and Barry did a podcast a few weeks back, I asked him to get the sportsbook price back. What price non-runner no bet would they go? Although he's never going to run there. What price Monkfish in for the Gold Cup, and I think you come back as 4-1, didn't you, Baz?
Really?
I'd probably back him at 4-1 for the Gold Cup, actually. Yeah, I just think he's an absolutely brilliant horse, and he strikes me as equally, if not a better prospect than Envoy Allen. So that's how highly I'd rate him. I have had a bet in a race. I've a while ago I backed Eclat de Rear at 12s and 14s each way. One firm are offering a without the market, and I earlier on in the week and I backed Eclat de Rear each way at 4s without Monkfish. They've trimmed that into 3-1 now. I didn't get too much on, but I quite like that. I quite like that Eclat de Rear each way of 4s without the Fav. Yeah, but I'm a bit worried about the ground because all Eclat de Rear's forms on soft ground, and all his siblings and his dam needed it pretty deep. So I'll be worried about the ground. But I've got the non-runner money back angle there. But I'd be mightily surprised if Monkfish is beaten. I don't play at odds on. I don't play at short prices, full stop. But I wouldn't be taking Envoy Allen on at 1.88, and I wouldn't be taking on Monkfish on at 1.73 either. No, I just think he'll winning style. But hopefully Eclat de Rear will finish second to him.
Yeah, that seems to be likely to be a double that'll be going in a fair few slips over next week. Andy, anything to add on this one, or is this going to be a Monkfish procession? Yeah,
I think the most exciting horse for me, other than Envoy Allen in training at the moment, arguably even more exciting because I don't think we've scratched the surface with this fella yet. He just basically pulverizes his opposition. He's such a fluent jumper. He's very deceptive horse. Obviously, he's not robust, but he covers the ground incredibly well. He's very deceptive, and like I said, the numbers I got him doing when he lined him up with Kenboy that day back in February were absolutely frightening. It's no wonder latest exhibition doesn't want to come here and take him on again. He's very much like taking on Marvin Hagler, Manny Pacquiao. He'll just basically just batter you. If you want to go toe to toe with him, he'll just keep out jabbing you. And he's got that knockout blow as well. If you want, he's tough in a finish. We saw him in the Albert Bartlett last year. He had no right to win that race, and he did. I think he could. He's like Envoy Allen. I think he could win the 2.5 mile race standing on his head. He's got that much speed. And I think he's going to get a freebie up front, really. Paul Tanner's just got to get him into a nice rhythm early on, get him over those tricky ones. That first one down the back early is a bit of a it comes up quite quick in a race, and it can catch 1 or 2 horses out. So he's going to have to be on his mettle there. But yeah, the first lap, if he gets that around that first lap unscathed, he'll just keep grinding it out. And yeah, this is the best bet of the festival, or the best of the short ones at the festival. I wouldn't want to be laying him.
Monkfish, yeah, can't see past him across the board here. And as I say, sure to be in a couple of short-priced multiples come the day. On to the Coral Cup now, the third race, and Grand Roi, if you want to do it in French. Roi is 7-1, Koshari 9-1. You raise me up 12-1, the Shunter 14-1, Great White Shark 14-1, Botox Has, Monte Cristo both 14-1 as well. 16-1 Bar. Tony, I'll come to you first here.
I'll be interested to see where Jenica goes. I think he's a really well handicapped horse. He has to bounce back from a pretty dismal run, his first run after a wind-up at Ascot earlier in the season. An even more putting performance, given that he's a horse that excels when fresh. But at least he's been dropped £2 from that. And if they have got him back, like I said, he's got festival form. He's on his hurdles mark is 145, gives him a real good chance. If they have freshened him up, and if they did find a problem for last time when he was very well backed after that breathing operation, then he's interesting me. But he's got 4 entries, so I don't know where he's going to go. And he's likely to, he's not the profile you probably want in a race like this, but I just think off his handicap mark, he's the kind of horse that will probably interest me. each way enhanced places as well. But these kind of races, I just have to see the final field. But Janika is definitely on my radar wherever he goes, albeit, like I said, he has to put that pretty dismal run behind him last time.
Janika, they're the one to keep an eye on for Tony. Barry?
Yeah, not a big opinion for me. George Granmoy 7-1, 8 Kashari. You raised me up 10. Craig Nish some money for that. He's into 12-1. Betfair Sportsbook 5 places the each way punters in the anti-post market, non-runner money back. But it's a watch and brief for me till we get the final decks.
Watching brief for Barry as well. Andy, you can find a bet anywhere. So hoping you're going to come up with something here, or is it a watching brief for you until the day?
Yeah, of the ones at the front end of the market, I'm most interested in Kashari. He was a bit unlucky at Leopardstown in that race last time out behind his stable companion Maze Runner. Through no fault of his own, he rather headbutted the fourth. There was a lot of horses in front of him, and I think it was just a swinging hurdle that come back and he ran into it. He went from sort of 3/4 of the way down the field to last, coming out the back straight with a circuit to run. So he did amazingly well to finish sixth. So I've massively upgraded his run. It was over a trip as well, which it was a bit of an experiment because prior to that he'd won at 2.5 miles at Cork. So I think 2 mile 5 around Cheltenham should be ideal for him. Still think he's not badly treated off a mark of 144. His Irish mark has been kept the same, which is not always the case with some of the Irish horses. If you're a weights and measures man, can see the case for Graham Roy. Obviously chased home the sprightly Backerson last time out in a fast time. Beacon Edge, the third horse, has won subsequently. That's good solid grade 2 form, born into a handicap, and he's off 149. The market's got him. I mean, to be fair, the market's now got Kashar. I think he was 14-16-1 a week or two ago, and he's now 8. But look, it's an on-the-day race, betting race for me. That it's a bookmaker-sponsored race. I'm sure a lot of firms will be betting 7, even 8 places or something ridiculous. And you can probably back a couple each way against the field. But I'll be similar to Tony. I'd probably wait now until the day. They'll bet 10-1 on the field on the morning of the race.
Wait to the day for the Coral Cup. Move on then to the Champion Chase, where Chacun pour Soi is the even money favourite ahead of Altior at 7-1, Nuba Negra 8-1, Politolog 10-1, Put the Kettle on 11-1, First Flow 14-1, Sorayal 20-1, and ahead of Kiles Emery, who's also 20-1, 25-1 bar. And before I ask the guys what they think, as I mentioned earlier, I spoke to Paul Nicholls about his chance here in Politolog, looking to defend his crown. And we'll start with Politolog, who's looking to defend his Champion Chase. How's he been after the Clarence House?
Yeah, he's fine. He came out of the race well. He had a nice little break afterwards, and he always comes good in the spring. He doesn't really like that January cold weather. That's not a plus for him. But this time of year, when the spring, in the spring, it's a bit warmer. It's not so cold. He's very happy and he's in good shape. He had a racecourse gallop at Wincanton last week with all the other Cheltenham horses. He led them all a merry dance around there. Had a good day out. Very happy with him. He's in good shape, I'd say.
Plenty of festival hot pots, most of them coming over from Ireland, and you'll be taking on one of them in Chacun pour Soi. Yeah. How do you judge your chances against a horse that's never travelled, let alone run at the Cheltenham Festival?
Well, I mean, Chacun pour Soi, I think he was at Cheltenham last year and had a problem and couldn't run. So he's obviously been travelled over once, but he hasn't run on the course, which is the only disadvantage I can see, because he looks a fantastic horse. He's been brilliant in his 2 runs, and I was blown away by him the last day when he won at Leopardstown. So if he acts on the course, he's probably the one we've got to beat.
You've got a couple others entered into the race as well. Grenadine, Magic Saint and Duke de Geneva. Will they all take up their entries?
No, the only other one will be Grenadine that Bryony rides. He ran in the Game Spirit the other day. He was a bit fresh. He's come on for that run. He's the sort of horse who could run really tidy.
We released that full interview with Paul Nicholls on our YouTube channel and podcast platforms. We spoke to Paul about Politolog, as you just heard, and also about Brave Man's Game, as you heard at the top of the show. Also touched on Frodon, Next Destination, Hooghry, among others too, and also his thoughts on what the festival will be like without fans. So do subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you'll find my full chat with Paul, or you can find it on podcast platforms there too. Betfair ambassador Paul Nicholls there. Fingers crossed he has a good week next week. So let's talk about the Champion Chase then. And Andy, we'll start with you here. You heard there that Paul obviously pretty respectful of Chacun Pour Soi, but hopeful as well for Politolog. How are you viewing this one at the moment?
Yeah, I think of all the short price favourites of the week, I'd be more than keen to puff my chest out and lay this one, because I genuinely feel as though this Champion Chase has got more depth in it than what's been afforded to Chacun Pour Soi, just a shade of odds on, or in and around that market on the exchange land. I mean, this is a miles better race. Let's say, for instance, last year when Politolog took it, we had Bundoran in there, and the second string of Paul Nicholls, I forget its name now. Dynamite Dollars, was it?
Mm.
I mean, it was a real week affair. Obviously, Defi Desoy didn't turn up, but I think this is going to be run on genuinely nice ground as well, which brings in lots of horses that, if it was soft ground, you think, well, Chacun Pour Soi would probably beat them. The likes of Grenadine, the likes of Nubi Negra, the likes of Put the Kettle on, Rouge Vis, Sco Royale, Altior, of course. This is a really good Champion Chase. Makes no mistake about it. If Chacun Pour Soi beats this lot, he would have earned his stripes. We've had lap of honours in the past, from the likes of Altior and Winter Sacco down the years when they've been 3 on, 4 on, 2 on, and they've beat 3 or 4 runners with any great. Now, but this horse has genuinely got to be, I would say, at least 7 or 8 top notches here to win this. He also hasn't been around the track, so if you're a lay, you've got that on your side. Okay, he's got Leopardstown formula. He looks fantastic round there. That's very much his home track, but he's yet to go around Cheltenham yet. So, I'll be quite happy to take him on. I've got good horses running for me. I think Nubi Negra has got to be a player. I think the better ground will suit him. I mean, he beat Altior fair and square the other day. He's a great cruiser, jumps brilliant. It's one of those races where Harry Skelton can go out there and ride with lots of confidence because he's got that pressure on him as such. He'll just stalk the pace. Whatever gallop they'll go, he'll be able to lie up. He's a very good horse. And Put the Kettle on, don't forget Put her. She's 3 for 3 round Cheltenham, 2 for 2 round this track. She also has got the ground back in her favour. She got well turned over by Chacun Pour Soi last time, but the ground wouldn't have suited her in Leopardstown. But she's a very, very nippy, nimble mare. And you have to remember, you have to be able to handle that inside track of the old course at Cheltenham. It takes some knowing, and she's the best horse of this field that can scamper around those bends. So this has got a lot of depth through it. Like I say, Chacun Pour Soi desperately short for me. I've already put the Kettle up anti-post at a big price. I'm happy with the position with her. But if you gave me a free bet now, if I could get somewhere in and around the 8-1 mark for Nubi Negra, I'll be quite happy to have that on my side from an HI perspective. So a really good betting race for punters here.
Yeah, vulnerable favourite indeed. Barry, what do the markets say your end?
Yeah, Chacun Pour Soi 2.16, just drifting out a bit because, like Andy says, there is plenty of strength and depth in this race. Like Chacun Pour Soi, when you look what he's been beaten in Ireland and getting solos some of the time, like the Rasso 19 lengths Notebook in Leopardstown, and then the last day in Leopardstown, Fakar Dudairis, in a race that fell apart when Min made that mistake. He's going to know he's been in a race this time round, and he at even money or a little over even money around the 11 to 10 mark. Yeah, I thought he was a lay as well. You've Altior in there. First Flow, I don't think's without a chance. Nubi Negra Put the Kettle on, Politolog, who won it last year. He goes there with a chance. So there's plenty of opposition to him. And when you're getting him at that sort of price, I think you have to be a layer right in the back.
Yeah, absolutely. Sound very easy to lay Chacun Pour Soi at the moment, and the odds on across the board on the odds checker grids at the moment, given Chacun Pour Soi currently trading at about 2.16. You'd think, unless something changes pretty drastically there over the next few days, probably won't be odds on the day. Tony, do you agree? Take on the fab?
Yeah, on balance. I think you've got a plenty running for you. If you lay him at 2.2, you've got the field running for you at 5 to 6, and I think that's fair. The guys have articulated, what depth there is in the race, but arguably the depth of the race makes it unattractive for me, because I couldn't look at the opposition and say, I think that one will be placed against him. It's not an each way shape. But I've just looked at the exchange after the markets just reopened, and I can't believe Grenadine's 85. 85. I know it's win-only price, and I don't know if he's definitely going there, but the fact he's been left in suggests he is. I know he's got loads to find, but I think this horse has got loads of upside still to come. He was as weak as you like in the betting last time. I think if there is decent ground, I think this horse will absolutely love it. I think he'll love a fast pace. I think if a horse is really going to step forward, I think it might be Grenadine. Now the each way price is only 33 to 1, but yeah, as soon as we get off this, I'm going to have a few quid at 85. Like I said, on the assumption he's a runner. It just seems too big to me. It's a horse I've liked all season. He disappointed slightly behind Politologue at Sandown earlier in the year, but like I said, I think that run last time, the market foretold how he was going to run there. But yeah, 85 Grenadine is just an insulting price.
Yeah, Grenadine and Paul Nicholls did confirm when I spoke to him this morning that the plan is for him to run here. And, it wasn't long ago that people were debating the merits of Grenadine versus Politologue. So
85's wrong. 85's wrong.
Like I say, massive price. Probably won't be there by the time this goes out, once you've had a go at it though, Tony, but we'll see.
I'm greedy. I'll ask for 100 and something.
On then to the cross country, where Easysland is the even money favourite ahead of Tiger Roll at 11 to 2, Potter's Corner 11 to 2, Some Neck 12 to 1, 16 to 1 bar. Now, Tony, you said before recording here, we don't have to worry too much about the cross country, but let's see, because I know other people do have an interest in it. Barry, how does the market look at the moment, especially with relation to the favourite?
Yeah, on the exchange, 66 grand matched in this. Easyland, your favourite at 248, which is 6 to 4. Tiger Roll and Potter's Corner, not a whole lot between them, 6.4 and 6.2 respectively. Then you've Some Neck in there at 15.5. A lot of people were expecting Shady Operator to go for this. He hasn't been declared. So yeah, Easyland looks like he's going to take all the beating. It's another cup of tea race for me.
Cup of tea race for Barry. Tony, do I even have to ask?
No, it is a standing joke that I never tip in the cross country and I never tip in the bumper. But I backed Vivas at 80s yesterday each way. I still see 66 to 1, but I think you're probably better off taking the 50 to 1 non-runner money back, because he's entered in a couple of handicaps, and even though he's very lowly rated, he may well sneak into one or two of those. But I just love the way he travelled when miles out the handicap over this course and distance back in November. It was a 40 to 1 chance that day. Like I said, I think he was £15 out of the handicap, but he actually traded at 6 to 4 in running. And I think if they get decent ground, which is key to this horse, and someone was telling me yesterday that they can't water on the cross country track, so if it is gonna be good to soft on the main course, it's going to be good and quicker on the cross country course, and that is Vivas is going to absolutely love that. Now, he's only rated 127. He's got loads to find, but like I said, I don't really bet in these Mickey Mouse type races. But if I am I'm going to take a wild swing at one at 66s, 80s, 50s non-runner money back. And Vivas seems to me, if he goes here, I can see him massively outrunning his lowly handicap mark, given what he did in November.
Vivas for Tony. And
Vivas.
Tony, things do change. I remember before the first time you joined us on this podcast, you said you never did podcasts, and now here you are today, and we've obviously got the Betfair podcast as well. So things change, people change, and Vivas hopefully will make this change worthwhile for you.
My son Teague's got a lot to answer for. do your son a favour and look what's happened.
Andy, how about you for the cross country?
I think the ground's the key to this, as Tony's already alluded to. They can't water, as he's already quite rightly pointed out. The forecast is for a relatively dry time of it. I'd imagine it'd be a good ground there already on that inside track, because it's always usually traditionally better, isn't it? Even when it's good to soft in places out on the normal course. The inside course is usually a little bit quicker. And that would be a little bit disturbing or worrying for those that fancy Easyland, because his only bad race in his life came when he was a bit very below par behind Kingswell Theatre early on in the season. Look, that was his first run for a while, and he's obviously got bigger fish to fry later on in the season. I get that, but the vibes haven't been absolutely ringing from the rafters with Easyland throughout the season. There's been talk about another one of his horses coming here. I think it was Ajas, wasn't it? That didn't make the gig either. Which one will take advantage of him on good ground? Your guess is as good as mine. We've got a lot of horses like Kingswell Theatre and Potter's Corner and several that have run here before. Old Tiger Roll could be back in the equation on good ground, although I think we might have just seen Tiger Roll better days for him based on his last 2 runs. So, yeah, it's a race I'm not going to have a bet in. Only if I'm having a play spot would I even remotely start looking at it and thinking, well, I need at least 2 or 3 running for me and just hope the favourite gets beat. But no view whatsoever. Then my nap of the meeting is I won't be sticking up anything on this on my column this week.
When you do a play spot, how many lines do you normally go for? Do you normally?
God, it could be anything. Anything, Tony. 4 or 5 in a race if needed. Sometimes more. Very rarely bank or anything.
Do you lay out do you have a syndicate that you spread it around with, or do you do it personally?
Yeah, there's usually a couple of us that have a go. Yeah, we usually do okay. Yeah, I remember the one year we got down to the Grand Annual. And it was going to pay a right few quid, and we had 5 horses running for us. I think 3 or 4 of the first 3 in the bet, and we went out. We went out in the last. Yeah, even though it was a good day, we'd back loads of winners. I never felt so sickly, even though they had a winning day, because the play spot would have paid a right few quid, and we went out.
I know what I'd have been doing. I'd have been hitting that place lay bet in 4 places all day long.
I know. I think it was the day before the exchanges really dominated the scene, so we didn't think on our feet.
Well, you mentioned the Grand Annual, and that is what comes next. And Embittered is the 7-1 joint favourite with Ntukas and Sky Pirate. Zanza 9-1. The Shunter 10-1. I feel like I've said the Shunter's name about 15 times today. No idea where the Shunter's going to turn up. Chosen Mate 14-1. Us and Them 16-1. Iblio 16-1. 20-1 Bar. And Barry, I mentioned I don't know where the Shunter's going to turn up. Are there any clues who's going to be turning up here come Wednesday?
Yeah, well, in the last couple of days, Ntukas has been supported. He's a 7-1 chance. Sky Pirate in there at 7, non-runner money back, obviously embittered, like you say, 6-1 favourite. Umbrigado, Eldorado, Allen, Iblio, all 12-1 chances. It's a race that I was fancying one horse in it. I thought could run a big race. It's a JP McManus horse. It's called Sully Dock. Won first time up in Ascot earlier on last October. A novice handicap chase, or a handicap chase. I think it was rated around 125. Finished third to Condor Castle then in November, and they put him away. It looks like they put him away for this following that run in Newbury back in November. He wasn't beaten that far. He's only beaten 2 1/4 lengths. He's a horse that I just think it looks like they've been protecting his handicap mark, and this could be the race for him. So I don't think you pronounced the AA on the end of that, do you, TC? I know you had that conversation before. It depicts something to do with some breed, that it's not a full thoroughbred or something.
Yeah, I said it in a podcast. I think Blake might have just had a pop at me for that. But yeah, it's not after time Ansel anyway.
Oh, Sully Dock, the one for Barry. Tony, we'll stick with you. How do you see this?
I think Joseph O'Brien's got a really strong hand in here. I think Us and Them at 16s is probably the pick of his at the prices for me, although, the other 2 are shorter. I'm hoping there's an angle into this race, and it's Maracuja. Now, Maracuja needs 10 to come out to get into this. There's 31 entries at the 5-day stage, and I think he's number 30. So obviously he needs something drastic to happen, numbers coming out. But they've got him in at Hereford on Saturday, and I've had a quick look at it. Nothing too dramatic, obviously, in the time frame, but it looks a pretty winnable race. And obviously he'll pick up a £5 penalty if he goes in there, and that will take him up to a mark of 139. That's £15 lower than when running in this race last year, albeit he didn't set the world alight there. But this horse, if you go back far enough, he's a really, really well handicapped horse, and he ran his best race of the season when third to Ambrogado at Wetherby last time. Now Ambrogado's obviously gone in since, so I think that was a very fair run. If he wins on Saturday at Hereford, gets up to a mark of 139, I think he's pretty much sure to get in. And like I said, he's a well handicapped horse, so it's a kind of horse that's just made for the non-runner money back, because if he does blow out at Hereford, they might not run him anyway. But if he does win there, he's got an excellent chance of getting in the race. He's a course winner, and like I said, it could well be, they've targeted this race and they've looked at the Hereford race. They've obviously thought about this, about what he needs to do to get in. And no, it just seems to me an interesting angle. And it's an interesting angle backed up by a decent price as well. But horses like this are what these money back concessions are all about. If he blows out at Hereford, he doesn't go anywhere near Cheltenham, you'd have thought. But if he does win there, I think you're on a live one.
Maracuja, best price on the grids for non-runner money back, around about the 20-1 mark. If you want to follow Tony in there, interesting angle, and you can have a nice, hopefully watch the race at Hereford on the weekend, and hope you get a winner there, and you're sitting on a decent price come next Wednesday. Andy.
Yeah, nice one. Barry's pulled out the hat there, because that's on my shortlist as well. Sully Dock. The day when he won back in October at Ascot, Barry's going to love this. I did some work on that card, and the 2 mile handicap won by Moolah God when he beat Ibleo. I got Sully Dock beating those 2 milers by roughly about 10 lengths on the final circuit. His overall time was quick as well, furlong per furlong. So I've watched that race at Ascot and see how it's developed. And if you go back, I'm sure Barry's done the work as well. The second at the Tour de Guise won. Smarty Wild went on to Kempton and won. Falco Blitz won the other day at Southwell. Copper Coin won the other day. I think he came from a long way back to win at Huntingdon. And then lo and behold, the horse that finished 52 lengths last of 7, Dorking Boy, won at Doncaster the other day. So every single horse out of that race at Ascot has won. He would have won at Newbury, wouldn't he, if he hadn't made that bad mistake at the last. He caught the top, dropped, slithered on landing, lost his hind legs, and he'd be coming here off the back of beating Clondor Castle, who's gone on to win at Kempton subsequently. So he's definitely shortlist material, that Sully Dock. 20-1 is a mythical price. He's kept fresh.
There.
He's got Cheltenham form. He ran well beyond Simply the Bets last year, and I think a strongly run 2 miles we're right up his street. I've also backed in Tukas for the same outfit, JP McManus. Now, obviously, Joseph's got embittered in there, who's got probably a more sexier profile, having run against some of those top quality Irish horses, such as Energumen and all that. But I like the way Tukas has come along. He ran in the best 2 mile handicap so far this season on either side of the Irish Sea. The race that Wave of the Sea won, the Shunter ran in it. He won the Moor Battle the other day, but they went a right gallop in that race. And I thought Tukas hit the front a lot sooner than they would have hoped. He's a horse I think just about barely gets it. I think that's why I think this inside track will suit him more than a demanding 2 mile one at Leopardstown. And they probably want to try and hold on to him, in between the second last and the last, and then deliver him then. Easier said than done in a 20 strong field. But I've long thought Tukas is a horse for this kind of race. He's always looked as though he's going to win one of these big ones. So yeah, I've backed in Tukas at double figure odds, but yeah, that's Sully Dock. Yeah, without giving too much away. Yeah, that's another one for the shortlist.
And Tukas 7-1 across the board. Barry, if you haven't backed Sully Dock yet, I'd get on it now, because Andy sounds a bit ominous in his tone, I think. Sully Dock 20-1 with one firm, 16-1 pretty much across the board though. So that is the Grand Annual. So
just before we come in, what would be your minimum guide price for that, Andy, for Sully Dock? That you back him out. The minimum you go to.
I think it'd be 14-16 on the day. I think I don't see him being any shorter. I think the market hold up. You've got Embittered and Tukas, Zanza. The Shunt I think might come here. Us and them. Yeah, they'll bet some 7-1.
You have to factor in the owner as well. What they're going to do, because they'll have Tukas in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe a case where if it's bigger than 16-1 as they're about to go, probably not worth back.
It's a good strategy to back both of those two, I think, because I think he quite fancies this race this year.
Yeah, it's a race he likes, isn't it? He's won with Alderwood and a couple of others in the past that have ran well, and that he seems to target it.
And he seems to have an angle on both form lines. He's got the English form covered with Sully Dock. He knows what it takes to win those 2 mile 3 races with him, and he's chucked in Tukas in that big race of the day, and he thinks, he's come out of that okay, right? I've got him as well. Yeah, he's got
I thought they might have gone Wave of the Sea here, but obviously not. They're not elsewhere with him.
He looked as
that's that race in Leopardstown that you were talking about.
Absolutely,
Tukas was fourth in,
Yeah, it's very, very strong form, that Leopardstown race. They went a proper gallop, and if you've lasted the pace in that, you should do well in the Grand Annual. So those are the two JP McManus horses for me there.
On then to the final race of the day on Wednesday on day 2, and it is the Champion Bumper. Tony, you've already told us that this isn't one that interests you, so you better start thinking of your Nap, your Longshot, and your Lay. But we will ask if you've got anything to add. Kilcrew and Gerhard are the two joint favourites at 2-1. 3 Stripe Life 8-1. 16 to 1. Ramirez and Hollow Games 20-1. 25-1 Bar. Barry, come to you first here. How do you normally approach the bumper?
This is Paddy's Day, and the Irish will be going home happy in the bumper after the bumper, that's for sure. Kilcrew 7-4. Can't have that one at 7-4 at all. Visually, I know he looked very impressive up in Leopardstown, but I'm not sure whether that form's ever going to stack up. Sir Gerhard, on the other hand, he looks a proper racehorse. He's been so impressive in what he's done so far in Down Royal and in Navan. That race in Navan, interestingly, that's a race that Gordon Elliott has farmed over the years, and most recently with Envoy Allen. I just thought that, like, the way he quick and clear. Now, he beat nothing in Down Royal, but the win of 14 lengths, quick and clear, he just looked smart, and then backed it up in Navan against a decent enough field. They put him away. They decided not to go to the Dublin Racing Festival with him. That's something that they had done with Envoy Allen, incidentally, but they resisted the temptation, let's say, of going there to keep him a fresh horse for this. Obviously, he's in a different yard now, which adds a bit of spice to the whole thing. But very difficult to get away from Sir Gerhard. He's my nap of Paddy's Day, and I think he'll be sending the Irish fellas home very, very happy indeed.
Barry, why do the Irish love this race so much? It seems
to bumpers are part of our heritage over here. You know what I mean? Historically, all the good bumper horses, you win a bumper, you get it sold to the UK. It kept fellas going in Ireland all through the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, it's just a race. As soon as you arrive at a race meeting and someone say to you, "Oh Jesus, Willie's is very well fancied in the bumper," you know, they were always the best betting races for the bookmakers. You know, there was always 3 or 4 horses that got backed in them. Everybody had a fancy in the bumper, and it was just intricately, you know, Irish people are just connected to the bumper, and they've actually made it their own, haven't they? In Cheltenham, it's not like you hear Paul Nichols talk about a bumper. He wouldn't give you a tuppence halfpenny for one of them. But whereas the likes of Willie Mullins and that, they're thinking straight away, oh, he's one for the Cheltenham bumper.
I remember talking about tuppence halfpenny. Do I remember John Hale paying 320 grand for Faustino Rossino once after winning at Carlisle? So he might not give a tuppence halfpenny, but some of his owners, do. But yeah, it's always fascinated me why there's so much love for the bumpers. But you've explained it well, Barry. Betfair Barry, sorry.
And Barry, if I can ask you a question as well, what do you make of the switch from Cheveley Park to send Sir Gerhard to Willie Mullins, who's got the favourite? I mean, I would have thought when they were jiggling the balls around, they would have probably gone to Henry with that and kept those two apart. I mean, what? How do you see
you would have thought anyone that was on top of the situation. You know, I think that might have been a rush decision in what they sent where at the time. You know, there was a lot of balls up in the air, and you know, there was a lot of confusion around that time as well. So it mightn't have been a whole lot of thought gone into it, because you think if anyone was to sit down and logically look at, you know, the dispersal, who was going, which horses were going to which trainers. Yeah, Sir Gerhard wouldn't have been one that you'd feature. Consider sending to Clonsutton, considering the strength and depth that Willie has in his bumper horses this year.
And I guess, is it a long-term decision? You know, there's a long way to go after this champion bumper here in terms of what they're going to do going forward.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Willie Mullins, you've got the favourite, and all of a sudden you're handed with a Johnny Come Lately of Sir Gerhard, and he's your main opponent. You know that from in advance, and all of a sudden you've got to train him and get into the post and in A1 condition, and
also it might put Willie in a difficult position with Kilcroot's owner.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's a real dodgy one, that
head scratcher.
Beyond the kind of politics around the ownership and all of that, Andy, do you have a view on who's the value at the prices at the moment?
I think long term, this is where I see these two horses. I think Kilcroot is a real strong stayer. If they go really good gallop, like they did at Leopardstown when the race fell apart, it's going to play into his strengths, because he's got a cruising speed and he just seems to be able to gallop. But I think the real Rolls Royce horse of the two is Sir Gerard. As far as I could see, he's, the numbers I've got him doing, even though bumpers sometimes don't produce great time figures, he's done 2 numbers that are right up there with some of the best I've got. But he's really quickened, hasn't he, Barry, in his latter stages. I actually think he did, considering the ground was that bad at Navan the last day, he quickened up really well on it. Beat that good horse of Gavin Cromwell's, left him for dead. He was good in down.
And under hands and heels, Andy, as well.
Yeah.
Never had to get serious with him. I think Jamie Codd knew, give him the office and bang, away he went.
I mean, just looking at him as a model as well, Sir Gerard looks a big, strong bull of a horse, and Kilcrook looks a more of a light-framed angular type. So, yeah, I think if it came down to a test of speed, and, I'd favour Sir Gerard. I think he might just have the better turn of foot. And 3 Stripe Life as well, he's another one to throw into the mix. He looked very impressive when his bumper comes here, obviously off the back of that without another run. He's smart, so I think we're dealing with 3 very, very good horses here.
Cigar Hard 2-1, getting the nod over Kilcrook from both Andy and Barry, but a mention there for 3 Stripe Life at 8-1 for Andy. Tony, I joked that you'd have nothing to add, but in case you do, I wanted to bring you in before we move on.
No.
Nothing more. Well, then we'll come to you first then for the nap, the long shot, and the lay.
I'm going to give you a guide price here. If you can get 4-1 Eclaptoria without Monkfish, I like that bet. I think on a day where lays are very hard to find at reasonable, punter prices. I think the Check Empress lay at 2.2 is justifiable, and I really like for the non-runner money back bet. If you're watching this before Saturday, it's Maracuja in the Grand Annual at 20-1 plus each way, because he could if he wins at Hereford, he'll pick up a £5 penalty. Who's to say he's not going to go to Hereford and absolutely dot up, which he could well do off that mark, and he could go there, officially well handicapped horse. And I think he's well treated anyway on his back form. So Maracuja is the most interesting bet of the day for me, and like I said, that's what the money bet concession is made for. And I think he's maybe been overlooked at 20-1 plus.
Absolutely, Barry.
My nap, as you heard there, George, is Sir Gerhard in the bumper. My lay is Chacun Pour Soi in the Champion Chase, and my each way, I'm a sucker for a story. Nicky Martin's Bear Grylls in the Ballymore to sneak into a place at a big price.
Great stuff. And Andy?
My lay would be Chacun Pour Soi as well, the prices. My best, but I've got to stick with my nap and the meeting. I've got to go with Galliard de Mesnil. I could easily say Monkfish, but anyone could tell you that at 8-13. So yeah, Galliard de Mesnil, my biggest winner of the week. And the one at the prices, we've both talked about him, Sully Dock at 20-1.
Biggest winner of the week, Andy, until you head into the Grand Annual with that place pot ticket that's going to pay an absolute fortune. Will lightning strike twice? We'll see.
With your 20 grand perm.
Yes.
Thank you very much to Tony Calvin and Andy Holding and Barry Orr. Do check out all the content coming from all three as we go over the festival. Do get on the Betfair Sportsbook and the Betfair Exchange and check out all the offers there too. Do download the oddschecker app for Andy's tips and the best prices, bookie offers, free bets, and everything else that comes with it too. Hopefully we've given you a couple of winners, or at least something to think about. Please do gamble responsibly and enjoy the racing.